Hello friends, welcome to Knowledge House. Let's analyze the Hindu newspaper dated 23rd of July. So while analyzing, we'll be giving more importance to articles that are important from a competitive exams point of view. So let's start. The first article we are going to analyze is regarding the National Register for Citizens. A statement regarding NRC was made by Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh. So let's have some background information. So what exactly is this whole issue about? So this is about updating an NRC, that is National Register for Citizens, which came into in 1951. So what is NRC in 1951? So this is a register prepared after the conduct of census of 1951 in respect of each village. So these registers covered each and every person enumerated during the census of 1951 and were kept at corresponding government offices. So why is this being updated in Assam? So this particular document, that is NRC updation, basically means the process of enlisting the names of those persons whose name appear in any of the electoral rolls up to 1971. So that's the demand to update the NRC of 1951 was first raised by All Assam Students Union and Assam Jana Parishad more than 3 decades ago. So in November 1999, an official tripartite meeting to review the implementation of Assam Accord and a decision was taken that the NRC would be updated, and the center sanctioned some money for the same. So how will this impact the illegal immigrants? That's something really important. All this happened to keep the number of illegal immigrants at the bay. So Assam Accord was signed between the leaders of All Assam Students Union and All Assam and other organizations named Assam Jana Parishad and the government of India in 1985, 1985. So, marking an end to a 6-year long agitation, the parties agreed that all foreigners who had entered Assam between 1951 and 1961 would be given citizenship. So, however, those who entered the state after 1971 will be deported. So, what is the background of NRC updation? So, NRC of citizens was prepared in 1951 after the conduct, as I mentioned before. So, the register included the particulars of all citizens. As per the statutes governing the NRC updation, there is Citizenship Act 1955, that is Citizenship Rules 2003, and various other laws. So the recent statement by the Union Home Minister says that whoever is left out of NRC would be given a chance to appeal before the Foreigners Tribunal. So his statement comes amid various apprehensions expressed by several groups that the NRC was being used by the government for religious polarization after several residents would end up in detention centers if their name did not figure in the draft list. So NRC is being updated in accordance with the Assam Accord signed in 15th of August 1985. The entire process is being carried out as per the directions of Supreme Court. So after the publication of the draft, adequate opportunity for claims and objections will be available. All claims and objections will be duly examined. Adequate opportunity of being heard will also be given before the disposal of such claims. That's what the Union Home Minister say. So let's analyze some more terms regarding the same issue. It is a term called D-voter. That is, it refers to dubious voter or doubtful voter. It is a category of voters in Assam who are disenfranchised by the government on the account of their alleged lack of proper citizenship. So the D-voters were determined by the special tribunals under the Foreigners Act, and a person declared as a D-voter is not given the electoral photo identity card. So that's all about this term. And now let's look at an act, that is Illegal Migrants Determination by the Tribunal Act of 1983. So this particular act was an act of parliament enacted by India in 1983 by the Indira Gandhi government, and it was struck down by the Supreme Court of India in 2003 in 2005 in Sarban the Sonwal versus Union of India case. So the known as IMDT Act, that is Illegal Migrants Determination by Tribunal Act. It described the procedures to detect illegal immigrants from Bangladesh and expel them from Assam. So this act pushed through mainly on the grounds that it provided special protections against undue harassment, to the minorities affected by the Assam agitations. So it was applicable to the state of Assam only, whereas in other states the detection of the foreigners is done through Foreigners Act of 1956. This can be a prelims question. Multiple statements will be given and you will be asked to identify true statements from this. So another is regarding the Foreigners Tribunal. So and this particular tribunal was mentioned in the statement of Union Home Minister. So this particular tribunal is this came into force in exercise of the powers conferred by Section 3 of the Foreigners Act of 1946. The central government created this tribunal. That is, this order was called as Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1964. So this particular term must also be kept in mind. So that's all about this particular issue and this article. Let's move on to the next one. It is regarding the watershed development projects in India. So this article says that watershed development projects in India are very much lagging, and Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, that is PMKSY, which is a well-known and vital component of the water development scheme, which is lagging behind very badly. That is what the Parliamentary Standing Committee has submitted. So it is what is this watershed management? It is all about running, or it is all about making running water to stop and standing water to sink inside. Hence the groundwater table increases as a result of the watershed management programs. So I think it would be better to have some background information regarding the watershed management programs in India. So to accelerate the pace of development of the wastelands or degraded lands, the government of India set up the National Wastelands Development Board. That is National Wastelands Development Board in 1985 under the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Later, a separate Department of Wastelands Development in the Ministry of Rural Development and Poverty Alleviation was created in 1992, and the National Wastelands Development Board was transferred to it. I'll repeat the whole thing once again. To accelerate the pace of development of wastelands, the Government of India set up the National Wastelands Development Board in 1985 under the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Later, a separate Department of Wasteland Development in the Ministry of Rural Development and Poverty Alleviation was created in 1992, and the National Wastelands Development Board, which was earlier in the Ministry of Environment and Forest, was transferred to Ministry of Rural Development and Poverty Alleviation. And in 1999, the Department of Wastelands was renamed as Department of Land Resources, and to act as a nodal agency for resource management. So I think this would be sufficient. So let's move on to the next one. It is regarding college principals to have fixed tenures. That's a decision by the concerned authorities. So college principal shall be appointed for a period of 5 years and extendable to another term of 5 years on the basis of performance assessment by a committee appointed by the respective university. So in addition to the existing post of assistant professor, associate professor and professor, the UGC has decided to prescribe qualification for the appointment of the post of senior professor in universities up to 10% of the sanctioned strength of professors in a university through direct recruitment. So I'll repeat it once again. An additional post of senior professor in universities up to 10% of the sanctioned strength of professors is being made. So that's all about this particular article. Let's move on to the next one. It is regarding the Women and Child Development Ministry to move a proposal to amend the POCSO Act. So the Women and Child Development Ministry is set to move a proposal before the cabinet this week for enhanced punishment in cases of sexual assault of male children also. That's what a senior official has told the media. So the Law Ministry has also cleared the proposal to amend the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, that is POCSO Act of 2012, for enhancing punishment in cases of sexual assault against young boys. So this move is being seen as an effort to bring in gender neutral law while dealing with the cases of sexual assaults. So that's all about this particular article. Anyway, there is a call for another law or another part of the IPC to be made gender neutral. That is section 497, or I think it is 497, and it deals with adultery. So that's all about this particular article. Let's move on to the next one. It is regarding the restriction on the foreign media in Jammu and Kashmir. So this is something that is not new. That's what the article says. And a stern letter from the External Affairs Ministry on May 22 to all foreign media bureaus based in Delhi reminded them of the restrictions imposed by the 1958 guidelines for travel of the foreigners to parts of Manipur, Himachal Pradesh, and various other northeast states, and also Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and Nagaland, Andaman Nicobar, etc. So this have been on the books and never implemented. That's what the Foreign Correspondents Club was saying. So anyway, let's look into how this thing is going to develop. So that's all about this particular article. Let's move on to the next one. It is regarding the preventive detention. So what exactly is preventive detention? So this is one of the contentious issues, that forms various dimensions, or what that takes various dimensions, especially regarding the fundamental rights in Indian Constitution. So the Article 22 Part 3 of the Indian Constitution provides that if a person is arrested or detained under the law providing for preventive detention, then the protection against arrest and detention under Article 22(1) and 22(2) shall not be available. So the preventive detention should be carefully distinguished from the punitive detention. Punitive detention is a punishment for illegal acts done, and the preventive detention, on the other hand, is an action taken beforehand to prevent the possible commitment of a crime. So the preventive detention thus is an action taken on the grounds of suspicion that some wrong action may be committed by the person concerned. So the ground for preventive detention are security of the state, maintenance of public order, maintenance of supplies and essential services and events, and also the foreign affairs and security of the country. So a person may be detained without trial on any or some of the above mentioned reasons, and a detainee under the preventive detentions can have no right of personal liberty guaranteed by the Article 19 and 21. So to prevent the reckless use of preventive detention, certain safeguards are provided in the Constitution. Firstly, a person may be taken to the preventive detention only for 3 months after at the first instance. That is, only 3 months at the first instance. If the period of detention is extended beyond 3 months, a case must be referred to an advisory board consisting of persons with a qualification for appointment as judges of high courts. So it is implicit that the period of detention may be extended beyond 3 months only on approval of the advisory board. Secondly, a detainee is entitled to know the grounds of his detention. So the state, however, may refuse to divulge the grounds of detention if it is in public interest to do so. So thirdly, the detaining authority must give the detainee earliest opportunities to make representation against the detention. So these safeguards are designed to minimize the misuse of preventive detention, and it is because of these safeguards that preventive detention, basically a denial of liberty, finds a place on the chapter of fundamental rights. So that's all about the background information regarding preventive detention. And right now there is a Supreme Court order that administrative laxity, that is administrative lethargy or lethargy, should not be a reason for delaying the news of detention to a person arrested under the National Security Act. So the Supreme Court has said that, and the magistrate who ordered his detention took 5 days to communicate this to the state government. That's what the ground under which the Supreme Court has made this statement. So that's all about this particular article. Let's move on to the next one. It is regarding international relations, and Mattis, that is US Defense Secretary, seeks waivers from sanctions. That's what the article is titled. So US Defense Secretary James Mattis has sought waivers from sanctions on some countries, making a transition from the military dependence on Russia, asserting that it will allow them to build closer ties with America and strengthen the US allies in the key regions. So Mattis made a statement that the fundamental question we must ask ourselves is do we wish to strengthen our partners in the key region, or leave them with no other option than to turn to Russia? This is a really important angle from which things are to be viewed at. So I'm repeating the statement once again. The fundamental question we must ask ourselves is: do we wish to strengthen our partners in key region, or leave them with no other option than to turn to Russia, thereby undermining the once in a generation opportunity to more closely align nation with the US vision for a global security and stability. So that's what article says. Anyway, this particular officer will be here for the 2+2 strategic talks, which is scheduled for late August or early September, something of that sort. I'm not clearly remembering it. Anyway, let's look at how things are going to develop, especially keeping in mind the countering America's adversaries through Trade Sanctions Act, and given India's relations with Iran, how things are going to develop. Let's look at it positively. So let's hope for the best. That's all about this particular article. And next is regarding the army. So army to get artillery guns from September. So army will start taking delivery of K9 Vajra T, that is K9 Vajra T, that is a self-propelled artillery gun from South Korea. So our army will be getting this from September onwards, and the first regiment of 18 guns is expected to be ready by the third quarter of 2019. So at the same time, it will also reserve four. It will also receive four M777 ultralight howitzer guns also from the US. So that's all about this particular article. Let's move on to the next one regarding the fresh development regarding the bilateral relationship of China and Sri Lanka. So a fresh offer has been made by China, that is an offer, that is a fresh grant of around 295 million US dollars. So this grant comes at a time when the Chinese firm is facing heavy criticism for allegedly financing the last election campaign of the former president Mahinda Rajapaksa. So Mr. Sirisena, who later became the president after the 2015 elections, had at the start of his term suspended most of the Chinese-backed infrastructure projects started under Mr. Rajapaksa over suspected corruption, overpricing, and flouting of government procedures. So this has to be kept in mind, or this particular news has to be read with the background of India trying to improve its relationship with Sri Lanka. Especially, you must have noticed the India's decision to invest in Hambantota Airport, which was developed by China. All right. So that's all about this article. Let's move on to the next one. It is regarding the IBC, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Uh, so we are into developing this further so as to facilitate cross-border norms also. So IBC, a UN model, is being eyed for cross-border norms. So IBC, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, has sections pertaining to the cross-border insolvency matters, but are yet to be made operational. So the government is looking to possibility of adopting a United Nations legal model for cross-border insolvency cases, as it works on strengthening the insolvency resolution framework. That's what this particular article is all about. And I would like you all listeners to comment on to put a comment on the comment box. And the question is, who is the or which authority is the implementation agency of IBC? So I hope you all will put the comment, and let's move on to the next article. It is regarding the sudden changes that are affecting the industry as a whole. So the increase in axle load by the center recently, I hope you might have noticed this particular news, and the Maharashtra government directive on the food and beverages in cinema halls are the latest examples of policy changes coming as a bolt from the blue for the corporates. That's what this particular is all about. So the industry bodies has complained, or rather aggrieved, that sudden changes are negatively affecting the industry, because all of a sudden if some changes comes in the industry, it will take some time for the industry to adjust towards it. And what I like to point out is that recently I came across an article which says that and it was an article about the tax regime in Singapore, and Singapore also has a GST regime. So that particular article says that, or what that was about is that uh, Singapore government has said that within 2 years, that is after 2 years, the highest tax rate will be 9 percentage. So what should be kept in mind is that they have announced it 2 years in advance, right? It is something really friendly for the business people and all industries as a whole, because they can adjust themselves towards pricing and various other things, and this provides a great certainty with respect to pricing and taxing. So, and it is such a business friendly country, so that's something we have to look upon. All right, so that's all about this particular article. And the next thing is about the tribunal rules in favor of the SpiceJet in its tussle with the Maran Group. So, an arbitration tribunal has ruled in favor of SpiceJet in a share purchase dispute with the promoter Kalanidhi Maran, and rejected the Maran's claim of rupees 1,300 crores for loss on account of non-issuance of share warrants. Anyway, this particular news is about a private party. So, just for basic understanding, that's all it is required. So, the tribunal has, however, held that Mr. Maran, who will be entitled to a refund of 308 crore, the subscription amount he made for warrants and preference shares, with an interest of 12% per annum for a period of 30 months. So, this will not result in a new liability for SpiceJet, as it has already deposited the same amount, or already deposited the amount in an escrow account in a Delhi High Court, and will thus have no impact on the company's balance sheet. That's what an entire official has mentioned. So, let's move on to the next one. It is regarding a spike in the sales of commercial vehicles. So, the article has said that article is titled "Commercial Vehicles to Get Onto the Expressway." So, on analyzing, we can infer that in April-June quarter of financial year 2019, the commercial vehicles sales grew for around 50% a year, and indicating a good time for truck makers. So, the recent government notification enhancing the payload of new trucks by 25% is expected to extend this particular good run. So, in addition to the 50% sales growth, this particular move, that is to increase the payload capacity by 25%, is likely to bring in some good news for commercial vehicle manufacturers. So that's all about this particular article. Let's move on to the next one regarding coal blocks. So I like to give you some additional information regarding the same. So anyway, there are 5 critical challenges for any government when it comes to the management of coal blocks. So first thing is administrative challenges. That is one of the biggest issues in increasing the coal production is delay in getting all the licenses. In the present regulatory framework, an allotee of a captive block has to obtain multiple clearances and approvals within the environment ministry, and it is likely to take around 3 to 4 years. So first thing is administrative challenges, and the second biggest challenge is transparency. So the coal allocation under the UPA government ended up in controversy. Intentions of the government were noble. So the objective of allocating captive coal blocks were not to maximize revenue for the government, but to rapidly increase the coal production and reduce electricity tariff. So this is a perfect recipe for a scam. So this is another challenge. So, and the third challenge is regarding pricing. So Coal India has almost no control on the price at which it sells its products. So the pricing of coal is fixed by the central government, and until its deregulation in 2000. So the right to fix the price was given to Coal India and the Singareni Collieries Company. However, the Ministry of Coal interfered with the pricing on political grounds. So that is another challenge, that is pricing. So the first one was administrative, the second one was regarding transparency, and the third one is pricing. And the fourth one is transportation and infrastructure. The Coal India management has always been saying that the issue of lower output is not related to production but to logistics. So the coal stocks are lying at the mines waiting to be evacuated, but are not being done on the account of lack of proper transportation. This is another challenge. And the last one is power sector reforms. So the only reason that Coal India is unable to increase its price or increase the price of its products is the belief that the consumer, that is power producer, and the power distribution company cannot afford it. Power tariff have been kept at low due to political reasons, and quality and the quality and uninterrupted power is denied to the consumers under the garb that they cannot afford it. So that's all about the challenges, and let's look at what this particular article is mentioning. So an index is being proposed to determine the value of coal blocks. So the recommendations which were submitted this month rest on four basic tenets, that is ensuring the transparency and fairness, equity, early development of coal blocks, and the simplicity of implementation of recommendations. And these suggestions coincide with the opening of the coal sector for commercial mining. The proposed changes aim at introducing flexibility in a number of bidders, penalties for defaulting on milestones, and the project execution and relaxation to captive miners to sell some of the coal in the market. So anyway, this particular move, if properly implemented, can bring in a lot of investment, and definitely it will take our coal industry to a better prospects. So that's all about today's newspaper. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you like this video, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. And for various kinds of PDFs, you can visit our blog, that is www.knowledgehouse.co. You can also follow us on Telegram, and if you feel that you must not miss any more updates from us, please hit the subscribe button. So thank you very much for once again for watching this video, and have a very nice day.